till 6 o'clock to start. Start at any time you want there, Chairman.
Oh, all right. We call the meeting to order. Roll call. Just actually, incidentally, in case anybody doesn't know, I'm going to be the chairman from now on of this committee. And Jay has moved off to transportation.
Transportation.
Right. And Lisa has come over from
Yeah, so
transportation.
Jay and Lisa swapped committees.
All right. Roll call.
All right. Lavallee,
Here.
Logan,
Here.
Luna,
Here.
Lancaster,
Here.
Saucedo.
Here.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
All right. You have quorum.
We have quorum. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from January?
Oh, first you gotta ask for public comment. Even though there's no one here.
Gotcha. Call public comment? No, okay, we're good there?
All
No-
right.
No public comment, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to, I'm going to take a motion to approve the minutes from January 15th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 15th, 2024.
Second?
I second that.
Right on.
All right. Logan,
Yes.
Luna,
Yes.
Lancaster,
Yes.
Saucedo,
Yes.
and Lavallee.
Yes.
All right. Unanimous.
Okay, let's move into project updates. Lou, are you going to handle those?
Yeah, I'm going to do the best I can on this. So basketball finished up this last Saturday. I've reached out to the coaches and I'm reaching out to the parents to have a kind of an after-season discussion, what we could do better, what do they like, so that we can make some improvements for next year. So I'll just go back over. So I've reached, basketball is over, or the boys' basketball is over as of Saturday. I've reached out to the coaches and I'm reaching out to the parents to have a after-season discussion on what we did well, what we didn't do so good, so that we could make improvements for next year. I know, like, one of the things we didn't do is we didn't have like a parents meeting at the beginning to set down expectations and so on when it comes to dealing with the coaches and their children when they're, or their kids as they're playing. So that's already been noted.
So I
Go ahead.
brought that up a little bit more as
Sorry,
well. I guess
wrong-
right now
wrong
we're
one.
at 88. We still have 2 months left.
Okay. So the English as a second language, the last class is this Wednesday. We've had some pretty good attendance this last month. Haven't had to cancel, or we only canceled one, I believe, so far. Zumba and Limber Life both have been canceled. Their instructors decided not to continue, which in Limber Life was actually okay because we only had one person signed up anyway. So wasn't that as big an impact. And I believe that's it for programs, existing programs.
So Lou, on the ESL,
Yeah.
I would like to get involved next time we start that. I don't know when you guys want to, if you're going to reactivate that, but I know that the community was expecting like more like classes, English as a second language. because
You're
that's what
correct.
it is.
And in the, was it last Wednesday's class, one of the things I did, as I talked to the participants, and we kind of already started a discussion of, okay, what did you feel we did well? What did you feel that could improve? And one of the things was marketing. They didn't feel like we marketed enough and reached out enough. And at one point, we actually had 2 different flyers that were going on with different speakers on various days. I know when Donovan and I were trying to confirm who the speakers were, he pulled out one, I pulled out the one I had, and they both had different speakers for that day, different topics for that day. So that's something we want to, like, once we've determined this is the schedule, that's it. No more multiple flyers, because you never know what flyers are out there or what ones you've retrieved. And it's going to be a common theme going forward that when we put on a program, after we'd like to do like a lessons learned. What can we do to make the program better for the next time? So yes, when we get to do I kind of went 5 miles that way. When we get ready to start doing the ESL again, I'll make sure that you're included.
Well, how many sessions do we have? 6?
We had 8,
8.
and I think only the one was canceled, so we did 7.
And there was no changes in between, like, to get, I just want to make sure the community, if we want to market it better, we got to do better.
Right. Right.
If we don't have a set time, and I know that there was cancellation because I was called.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like case in point, the flyer that was at the front desk versus the flyer that was actually on the table in front of the director's office had different dates for different topics. Had the same topics, just they showed 2 different dates for them. So that's, again, one thing. Once we've committed. If we have to fill in with somebody, we will. But let's not have multiple flyers out there. Multiple different flyers.
because I have different ideas with the marketing, because the marketing wasn't the best, so I think we could get more involvement. if
Which
we
has been a
have
common flaw in some of our programs. We haven't marketed as well.
So along those lines, I should state, one of the desires and the direction that had been given, and it will continue, is we want to create a programs catalog that is sent out a quarter ahead of the actual programming, so that residents have a full quarter before the programming actually occurs, so that they can plan ahead.
Right.
And it will also allow us to understand, who wants to participate. So as we build programming, the expectation is one of the marketing issues, and one of the things we're going to try and help fix this problem, is send out a catalog to every address within the community, so that they can see what programming is scheduled, the dates, the times, the cost, and how to sign up for it. And so as we build that programming, my expectation is that catalog will get more and more in depth as we build programming over the future. So
I think one topic that they would benefit from is business owners. What it entails, what they need to become a business owner, not just start and then as they're going, they're like, oh, I need to do this, and they don't know. I educate my clients, and I tell them, this is what you need, but I feel like the community would benefit from that. One of those topics would be a great.
Yeah,
somebody
and
to come in.
that's a very good suggestion. And that's something we can tie in on the economic development side as well.
Any questions on that? All right, let's move on to programs and events. I'm assuming this is upcoming programs?
Yeah, so one of the things that I sent out some paperwork yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah. No, not yesterday. It would have been Friday. The men's soccer league, they're gearing up. They want to do that again this year. So I sent out the paperwork so that they could get it all turned in, because they'd like to try to start as soon as possible. The other thing is, and I'm not sure if it's this year or if they're looking at next year, but they have had a lot of feedback to make a ladies soccer league. They've had that much attention. I think they've already got like 15 teams signed up for this year's this coming soccer league. So that's
Men's. 15
men's.
team men's. Okay.
Men's, yeah. Ladies, I think they can get about 8 to 12
Wow.
is what they estimate, but they've had that much interest. But that's when they're probably going to, as of right now, they'll probably try to do next year.
Would they play on a different day then?
Yeah, that would be more in the middle of the week. And in anticipation that we may have it start this year, I've already let the chief know in case he needs more patrols out there on those days. I think the tentative date was Thursdays, last time we talked about it. So that is slowly but surely getting more popular.
Anything else?
Other programs that's been kind of talked about is the soccer tournament, which is also on here, so I'll save that to when we get to that topic. Another one is as we get closer to September, October, is to do a zombie run. Because the eggnog jog was very successful. It ended up having 51 participants. So we think a zombie run would be pretty fun to do. If we can get 2 to 3 marathons like that going a year, that starts to draw. And it's low key, I mean, low expense. We had a lot of good volunteers for the eggnog jog. And we've got some department heads and staff members that are very excited to try to do a zombie run. And that's all I have for this month's report.
So I'm assuming that's zombie Halloween?
It'd probably be late September, early October, so it doesn't necessarily compete, because with it being the first one that we're doing, we try to line these things up opposite or away from what other cities are doing, or other cities nearby are doing, so that we don't compete so much. Kind of give ours a chance to get off the ground.
Well, the other thing I was thinking was, it'd be nice if we could, we got the eggnog jog in December, have something in July or something to offset time frame.
Is the foundation doing something for Halloween time?
We've been bouncing
It's
back
in the
and
air.
forth.
It's
Yeah.
possibly. They're trying to, but it's been massaged a bit because of logistics and costs. So it's still something that they're trying to do, but whether or not it actually comes to fruition this year, I don't yet know.
Is that something we could coordinate together?
Absolutely.
Something else to bring up is, as the mayor talked about early on, was doing brochures and actually having programs lined up ahead of time. One of the issues we've had in the past is getting not just marketing, but it's also getting instructors. After talking with NISRA, they have offered to provide a Zumba instructor. And Rodney, the regional rep out this way, is trying to put together a bunch of instructors, and that's all free of charge to the city because it's part of our membership.
John, we have the Milky Day run too, right? We have.
Yeah.
So
We have
that's
what?
in June, the Milky Day, the Milk Day.
Yeah, Milk Days has
The
it.
milk
Lost me
day.
there with Milky, so yes, you were correct, we do.
The
5K
Milky
or
Day
whatever.
run.
Yep.
Hey, that's what we need to name it now. But we have that in June, so.
That's true. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so
Forgot
yeah,
about that.
July or August would be.
Rebuild Illinois, grant?
So
Lou?
on that, right now, and Deb can probably correct me on this, but last check-in was that we have a notice of award letter that's in queue, but has not been issued yet.
Sorry.
No problem. I was like, did I say something out of turn here? So, just so you know that we've been reaching out, the mayor's been reaching out to try to get this Rebuild Illinois grant going. One of the things we discovered was that we were filing the wrong paperwork. And so we have gotten that corrected, sent in, and surprise, surprise, the notice of letter is at least in queue. So, not saying that's always been the issue. But back in August, when we filed a bunch of paperwork, one of the forms was the wrong form.
That's good. Good
Yeah,
to know
so
that
that's-
we're right on track now.
Right. And so we're just now waiting for that to get, for us to get the official notice letter.
All right, then I noticed in your packet, we got a community garden grant coming?
Yes, so the Illinois Realtors Association had a $7,500 reimbursement grant. That too, about a week and a half ago or so, about 2 weeks ago, The paperwork still had not been filed, and so I reached out to Neely and got the paperwork filed. And 3 or 4 days later, we got notice that we did get the award. So one of the things I included in the original plan, if you recall, was that we were going to look at the community garden and add box or planters, and then try to rent some of the planters off. We didn't. That came out to like $3,200. I bumped up the budget on that a little bit to add an ADA walk path, so that people can walk up to the planters. So that'll work out better. And speaking with NISRA, they have a I keep calling them green thumbs, somebody who knows about planting. They have an instructor that there's been a lot of interest out here for having a garden that's geared more towards special needs. So what I'd like to do is take at least 2 of the boxes and dedicate them, build it up to ADA standard, so a little taller, and then dedicate 2 to NISRA. And they're offering an instructor for all the planters, as long as we've gotten 2 for special needs.
Okay, so now, this sounds like it's gonna happen now, so do we have a plan for getting these planters built and in place?
Well, and that's the other fun part. Neely and the Illinois Realtors Association is excited the fact that we're incorporating some ADA. So they are actually offering people, we just have to pick a date. They are offering people to come and actually build the planters and do all that for us.
Wow, nice. One other thing, I know we had a water issue, has that been solved?
I remember it was resolved.
Okay.
If not, you know what, I will double check and then send an email around to the board.
We have any, I mean, have we sent out any, have we got people interested in having some of these?
We've not publicized it yet because we are waiting
Because
for
we're-
the award, right? So I
Brings
anticipate,
right around the corner.
yeah, I anticipate that happening very soon.
Or
Correct.
Tomorrow. Great,
Because, you know, it's planting time is coming, right?
right,
So
right. Okay, moving on to the OSLAD
So
grant.
commonly known as OSLAD.
I'm sure it was.
No, hey, it's new to me as well. So, we didn't prepare anything so far, for the 2024 OSLAD grant, or application period. That officially opened. We applied back in 2022, and we did not get an OSLAD grant, and that was to work on the south end of Milky Way Park, you know, the soccer fields and so on. There's a little confusion of whether or not we applied in 2023. Going back to the March meeting of last year, it was mentioned that we did not get the grant in 2023. So I did some background check, and we did not apply in 2023. So what I would like to do, and I've reached out to Burke, sorry, is it Charles? Christopher Burke. Yeah, the city engineers, they have somebody who specializes in writing for OSLAD grants. And it is quite complicated. It's not an easy process for this grant, but if you've seen some of the awards, they're quite high. I think Marengo got one for $600,000 that works on the parks and actually put a covered shelter. And that's something that Milky Way Park could use one day. So what I would like to do, and that's why I was waiting to come to the board, is to get a direction to go ahead and at least start up on the OSLAD 2024 grant process. And then we would not know for sure until around end of July, beginning of August, whether or not we received a grant.
Of this year?
What's that?
Of this year or next year?
It would be awarded this year, but we essentially wouldn't see the money until next budget year.
Or we would know this year.
We would know end of July, beginning of August, somewhere in that time frame.
Was there a cost to this application fee?
Yeah, what was the cost?
I don't think we got an exact number. There'd be a small cost. I believe it was 2,000 to 3,000 for the engineering tops, but I don't quote me on that. And we would cover that through engineering fees in the admin fund.
Right. So what I can do is with that same email, I'll just follow up with what the estimate is to have them do the OSLAT grant.
Do we have to motion this, or can we just move forward with someone?
I'd recommend making a motion to
Yeah.
direct staff to submit the grant.
And do we have to, within the application, do we have to say what we're gonna do with the money?
Well, yes, I think that is part of it. The previous application was to basically update the entire, it's actually the east side, southeast, so south of the parking and the east side of the park, for soccer fields. And as you'll see later, we are looking to do some updates to the soccer fields, but it also had included like adding more bathrooms and because it was quite a bit of distance from where the current bathrooms are. I'd suggest we continue down that vein unless you want to do something else in that park.
From what I understand, this grant is very tedious to write and put together, and there's a lot of options that are involved in it, and to be able to spend some funding that we have to have an engineer do this would give us a much bigger chance of
A leg up
getting an award.
in actually getting the award.
Right.
We don't feel that based on the review by our engineers of our previous award, we could improve our submittal.
Well, I'd like the motion to move forward with the OSLAD application grant.
I'll second that. I think
Hold
that
on,
would be
hold
a
on.
great one.
I'm a little slow on this, hold on. Okay, so we got a motion and a second.
And where's the money gonna come from to do this? From the general?
Yeah.
So we can contact the engineers to start.
Yeah, I can start tomorrow. And
Okay.
you gotta ask for discussion.
Oh, I was just discussing without asking. All right, bear with me. Any discussion on this topic before we vote? Nope. All's in favor?
Oh, wait, no, it's a roll call.
All right.
All right, Lavallee,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
Lancaster,
Yes.
Luna, Saucedo.
Yes, one real quick thing before, so say we do get this grant, this application, everything goes well, we're gonna discuss at that point what we're doing with this money, correct? Before we get any money, or if we do get the money, we're gonna discuss what we're doing with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think as we proceed and give Christopher Burke the go-ahead, he'll probably, or he or she, whoever's doing it, will probably give you options and parameters
Okay.
as to what is available. You know, there's certain restrictions, you can't
Yep.
build office space and that kind of stuff, so.
Correct. And, yeah, and so we'll get more direction from them. And again, I'll try to share that in the email.
And the application process is usually several months, so
Yeah.
there'll be time to bring that information back to the board to see before it's finally submitted.
Okay, moving on, the soccer tournament.
So the soccer tournament is starting to pick up momentum. We've had several discussions. You can see a draft flyer is attached to your packet. There's double elimination, 21 teams, 3 divisions. We anticipate 512 participants, and if you figure at least 2 parents per participant, you're at least 1,000 there. We are estimating between 1,500 and 2,500 people that should be there. Now, one of the things we're trying to do is make this an event over the 2-day period. We've got, Deb has graciously volunteered to spearhead the family side of it. So we're looking at bouncy houses, a mechanical bull, a face painting. She's reached out to the high school cheerleaders about doing the face painting on 4 tips So they'll just raise money by whatever's donated, and as part of our budget, we wrote in that we'll buy the little $7 face painting packs. We've determined it'll be a team trophy, but then the participants would get a medal, first, second, third place for each division, and then a participant medal. And now, we've got a meeting a week from Tuesday. On a follow-up, we've gone to Got Soccer, and we've already designed on Got Soccer. In fact, the QR code that you see here is live, so if you want to take a moment and check it out, you can. So that's moving along, and I've been reaching out to sponsors, having a past working with working in the beverage industry. I've been tapping into that to see what we can do, and Budweiser is very interested as far as with the beer tent. They're also the local distributor of Modelo. So that's on the horizon, and I'm reaching out for Coke and Pepsi. I've reached out to them. I haven't gotten a call back yet, but I'll be following up with either one to see on more the family side and the actual tournament area. If they could do either sponsor or provide like banners and so on. So, yeah.
Are you talking to Budweiser about draft beer or cans?
Draft. Okay. Yeah, and so one of the things that a lot of people may not know is depending on the size of the event, they'll actually bring out their own trailer and they'll supply people, their own staff to come out and work it. So that's what I'm, in fact, I've got a meeting Wednesday with the Budweiser, Austin from Budweiser, to kind of go over the fine tuning of that. So that's less manpower that we have to come up with. And these people are already trained to do the license check and everything else. And I should have a more detailed report on that at the next Parks and Rec board meeting. But we're going to try to push as much to get sponsors. We've already started, we've designed a new sponsorship form and started reaching out to local businesses to see if they would sponsor. And right now, I think, if you recall, the initial estimate to do this was about $400,000, and we've got it down to about $24,000. So that's a pretty significant savings that Deb will not give me credit on.
And who is the point person for the city for this? Okay.
Yeah. And once we get a new Parks and Rec director, they'll, as they're like getting accustomed to everything here, they'll kind of ride shotgun on that until they can kind of move on their own. But right now, I'm the point person.
Picturing you out there with a stripy shirt and whistle.
Well, and that's just it. Like some of the things that we found out throughout this process is that there are people that will serve as referees, and you only pay them for the game that they work, and that's it. Versus paying them by hour. Mm-hmm. So that dramatically reduced the cost as well from like roughly $1,000 down to, I think we got it down to $3,400. And then that will be able to provide 2 or 3 refs per, 3 refs for the 2 older divisions and 2 refs for the younger divisions. So that we'll have it, we'll get it as full up to speed as a regular tournament as possible.
Aren't we getting a generous donation of soccer goals as well?
We're currently working, last I checked, Donovan is reaching out to the aluminum plant over here about either donating or at least donating at cost some, soccer or goal posts. The nice thing about that is that will be a permanent structure. So now it'll even help like the junior soccer teams that they wouldn't have to cart their own out back and forth.
At the same time, the Parks Foundation has voted
that's
to
right. Thank you.
donate to the cost of the goals. So if we're able to get a reduced fee at cost, then it should be covered by the foundation.
Thank you. That's, the mayor is correct, and I apologize for our listeners out there. I forgot that part. And
Well,
so
that's
we'll.
because you weren't at the meeting, so.
Well, yeah. So what we're hoping to do is make sure that on the goalposts, even if we can get them at cost, that's so much money is saved on behalf of the foundation. So that means they have more money for other projects. But at the same time, donated by, and we'll put on the plant and Harvard Parks Foundation on there. So it'll be there for a long time. We want to acknowledge the people that are helping us out with this as much as we can.
Okay, and then moving on, tying into that, we got some landscaping we are looking to accomplish for this.
That is correct. So, as I mentioned before, the original quote was to do, just to do the fields, and that was like $400,000. In speaking with Nick and Jose, they went and talked to their friends and people they know that do landscaping, and they think they can fix the 3 fields for $6,300.
It's a good savings, Lou.
That is a considerable savings. And now, mind you, that's to make it good for this year. And the idea is this takes off and does really well. We want to do this again next year as far as the soccer tournament. We'd love to do this every year because our original numbers, our new numbers are looking that the soccer tournament can be profitable. And what I mean by profitable, particularly to the people that are listening, is that the money that's earned above and beyond our costs will just go right back into fixing the fields. And eventually that will make it a really nice park or soccer fields down there. But anyway, so I'm dragging on. 6,300 is what I'm asking the board to approve, or recommend to the council to approve. In anticipation of a yes, and because of the time frame, we did ask that this also be included on the council meeting's agenda for tomorrow night. But if this board chooses to say no, we'll just ask the mayor to strike it from the agenda.
Where's the funds coming from, the 6,300?
Those will be coming from the money market account.
Which is capital improvement.
Yep. I motion to move forward with the 6,300 estimate. I noticed there's a second estimate here for 89.
Yeah, to show you that we did go out and get 2 estimates. You can see that one's considerably higher.
I motion to go with Summerview Landscaping Incorporated. Their estimate is $6,300.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Are they local landscapers?
They are.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're
Both of them?
Thompson Street, yep. Thank you, Scott.
No discussion? All right, let's vote.
All right, let's see. Lancaster,
Yes?
Lavallee,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
Luna, and Saucedo.
Yes, Lou, is there gonna be any type of warranty with this as far as the fertilizing, the weed control, any of that? Or is it just the applications and that's it? Or will they come back if we see weeds coming after they fertilize?
I don't have a direct answer, but I can find one out.
Yep.
We can discuss that with them, and at our next meeting
Right.
for, with Nick and Jose, we need to also talk to them about protecting the area. And that was something that came from Daryl, is how are we gonna keep people off of it?
Yep.
While, all this is getting established and
Aren't they gonna
fixed
play,
up.
aren't they gonna play soccer on this at the same time?
Yeah, but we're gonna do this, like, hopefully next month, so prior to soccer starting. So we need to knock out how we're gonna do that, whether, Summerview's gonna include that, or whether Public Works needs to get something going out there. Rob's more than willing to help out, we just need to kinda hash that out, so that'll be something we need to talk to them about next Tuesday.
And by the way, as we go through this and look at projects and so on, I hope you'll see a common theme that all the departments are throwing in time and effort to try to get this done. Not just this, but other projects.
Oh, I see the theme of saving money, Lou, and getting things
What?
done.
No.
So on the
I like
diamond
that theme.
landscape, quote,
Yes.
that is just one application, but the other one doesn't say if it's one or what. But the other one does.
Oh, for 8,900?
So actually, Ann took care of this, getting this quote, And when we were talking to the lady that came down for Diamond to get the, give her, clarify the information, she was told just for this spring.
Yeah, I see. It does say that, but I'm gonna assume that the other one is one also.
Yes, the other one is one. For the summer view is one as well. Yes, it's just for this March. And they thought that this, these field improvements would carry us through the summer. So,
Gonna last till the end of July?
yeah.
Hope so.
It's more improvement than we've ever done to these fields.
It's a step in the right
It's
direction.
definitely needed, and ideally, as this becomes successful, we can continue to upgrade those fields as whether we get an OSLAD grant or the funding that comes from these tournaments.
Well, and speaking about that, if we're successful with the OSLAD, we'll get a good chunk of Milky Way Park updated, hopefully in 2025, 2026. And if we continue to do the soccer tournament, and it continues to be profitable, the hope is to take that money and just put it back into the park system so that we can take care of other parks and again, make the Parks Department more self-supportive.
Okay, moving on to the Mary's Park equipment.
So I'll take this one. If you recall when we learned that the slide was no longer, it was obsolete, and the recommendation was to remove the entire equipment and replace it, we brought the person out from Team Riel, walked around the various parks, and his recommendation was there's no reason to replace the whole system. The slide is certainly obsoleted, but we could replace that slide and actually add another slide and then also add a swing set for less than 10K. So that's the quote that's in front of you. We would like to move forward with that, so that the vendor can order that equipment and won't bill us until after the new year, into the new fiscal year, to pay for it. And then they would install it as this board wanted them to do, so, versus using a community build.
So that, just again, a reminder, the original quote we got was for $100,000. And in talking with the contractor and that, we were able to get it down to 9,900 and change, which again is another considerable savings.
And when would this be installed, Mayor?
I think, assuming the equipment comes in, either May or June, so it's in the front part of summer, so we can have it installed before summer's over.
Well, I would like to make a motion to approve this quote to replace.
Real quick though, do we know the other playgrounds and our other parks need some kind of work like this?
There is some, from what the quick kind of reviews that I did, which weren't comprehensive, but we did walk around. We did find some damage at the playground system behind the library. There is one area where the panel is missing and needs to be replaced. I think it's a relatively small replacement, but not 10,000, but maybe 1,200, something in that neighborhood. We've not yet received the quote for that to know what that cost would be. The other equipment, for the most part, was in pretty good shape. There are areas where he thought that we could paint, where paint is kind of flaked off, but he felt confident that we could do that ourselves and kind of fix some of that. Generally speaking, the only damage we really saw was the one in I guess that's Lions Park. And then there was one thing that I think was bent. It could be replaced because it was bent, and I think it was at Milky Way Park in the playground system there, but it wasn't to the point where it was going to be a safety issue, but the equipment was bent and that could be replaced. We haven't got a quote for that yet either.
So because I have to add to everything the mayor says, right? So one of the things that we were able to find out, and it does tie into the Mary's Park, is that we do go above and beyond our lid, our tax lid, to pay for the NISRA membership. And slowly but surely, we've actually built up funds to the tune of about 160,000. Okay. Well, one of the things to keep in mind as Deb is verifying numbers is that it is supposed to go for special needs or ADA type compliance within the parks. So projects like similar, before I get beat up later, to the Mary's Park project, is that as long as we incorporate some ADA aspects to it, that would actually be able to pay for it. And in fact, the improvements that the mayor is proposing for Mary's Park is not just replacement of the slide, is to add an additional slide and to add a set of swing sets. So we're actually expanding for the $9,900. And we can kind of take that same philosophy going through the other parks. And this goes back to why we need to do an inventory and assessment of our parks, of all of the Parks and Rec department.
I will take one exception to that, Lou, in that the quote actually only says one slide versus two.
Oh, okay.
In quantity.
Well, I stand corrected.
But the difference is that we would add swing sets that weren't there previously.
Okay. Well, like I said, I've been at it for about 3 weeks, so.
Deb, what was put in the budget for the repairs of the park?
So originally, we wanted to look at possibly doing it this fiscal year because there were some funding left over in parks, new equipment that we weren't quite sure was allocated for. I did speak with Daryl this morning, and he needs that revenue to make sure that his mowers and his park equipment for this current season are up to speed. So we're not going to pursue using some of that. The next option you would have is to, again, pay this out of the money market after May 1, remembering that I believe it was Pep at the Parks meeting when we had some overage at the end, made a motion to move that 10,000 and some change into the money market to start saving for this project. At that time, when we thought it was $100,000, we would start squirreling away some funding to start improving those parks. So I would suggest if you wanted to pursue this, that once that money is transferred into the money market from what's left over in the current park cash budget that's coming up May 1st, that you use that funding to go towards this.
Yeah, and I think we just actually discussed it at the last meeting. That's how we're going to do this to pay for this.
So we probably wouldn't have money left to do anything to the Lions Park. Is that the one you just said, Mayor, that needed some?
Well, I think there may be opportunity to fix that issue under our maintenance line item that we have for parks already that you guys went through on Saturday. So depending upon what that cost is, but I believe that we could absorb that in that, Jim, just straight maintenance line item.
Deb, how much money are we talking about that Daryl might need for,
I think when we spoke this morning, there was about 4,700 left, and he was going to go and do an inventory in the next couple weeks. He's starting to get his mowers and everything out and his equipment looked at anyway because it's just around the corner. And then he was going to let me know how much of that he thought he would need. He won't go over that by any means because that's, the budget is what it is. But I didn't want to take that from him to apply towards this because we're not at the end yet. And we just had talked a couple of weeks ago, not sure where that was tagged. And, if it was, money that was supposed to be used for something and it's not going to be, but I believe it's going to be used up for what he needs, so.
Didn't we have money set aside for the walking path at Park Point?
At Park Point?
Park Point? I thought there was improvement for a path there
In this current budget,
in the last year.
the one we're in right now,
Correct.
I don't know the answer to that.
There was no money allocated for it, but I think there was money available in the money market to capital
I thought
equipment.
we were
but
gonna, I thought it was like a 2-year deal. We started it 1 year and then we were gonna finish it the next.
We can review that. I don't recall that, but we can look back through the minutes and verify.
He doesn't think he's gonna use that all. I don't know if that was allocated through new equipment or not. It might have been through a maintenance line item. So I'll see if I can find something on that and make sure that if that is the case, that we are squared away on that.
Oh, so you have a motion on the floor.
I
Sec-
sec, go ahead, John.
Can I second?
Yes?
I'll second.
Just for clarification, that is to allocate those funds after May 1, correct?
Correct.
Discussion? Call vote?
All right, Lancaster,
Yes.
Saucedo,
Yes.
Lavallee,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
and Luna.
Yes.
All right, ayes have it, or yeses have it.
All right, moving on to the Harvard High School Athletic Department Field Usage Agreements. What is this?
So we received some requests from Barry over at the high school for use of Lions Park, Milky Way Park for IHSA softball regionals, cross-country meet.
2 different meets.
Yeah. And so originally they did fill out a
3
fee.
different meets.
So they originally filled out a fee waiver and then came back and sent me an email saying, no, we don't need the fee waiver. So they're not requesting a fee waiver on this field usage agreement. So I'm asking
Fee?
what's that?
They're paying the fee, is what you're saying?
What's that?
They're gonna pay the fee.
They're gonna pay the fee.
So for the IHSA regionals, softball regionals, is that just for that event, or is it to use the field all year?
It's just for that event. If you notice, it's the 21st and the 24th of May.
Dates on each of those
Yeah.
forms.
So they're just asking to use them?
Correct.
That's all.
Basically, they're reserving the
Reserving
fields.
them, yep.
Reserving the fields for the day.
And I wasn't fully versed on what the procedure was, and I just assumed that usage agreements like these come before the board, for the board to look and decide whether or not they want to approve or deny. And then they go to the council.
Well, actually, previously, they would just submit those to reserve the field. It only went to council and to the board if they sought to have the
Okay.
fees waived. There's no harm in letting the board know, but in terms of action items, if they're not requesting a fee waiver, there's no action.
So, and that, if that's the case, then I guess I'm letting you know that people are wanting to use the facility, and I'll be giving them an approval.
And typically then, on something like this, or on all these fields, the park supervisor would just be keeping track of who's got it for when and making sure nobody else just goes in there and starts using it, right?
Okay.
Correct. So the idea is they reserve the field, and we would have a kind of a field scheduler
Yep.
so that they notify, that Parks Department knows these fields are reserved by this entity for this time period.
Ryan would normally have a schedule for that, especially on the Hearst fields, like who had it when, and we would be required to give him a schedule of games we played and stuff too, so he would have that on the calendar, just so they're
Okay.
reserved.
He's also in the past been responsible for billing the school for these dates, which can continue. The only caution I would add is that one of them's in May, so if we don't have something established in May, we just want to make sure we don't miss billing that out.
What is the current fee?
What is the current usage fee?
I don't know the answer to that.
I can
We find that
Get
out
that to
now.
you in an email.
There's 2 fees from the last time I thought was night usage fee and then just a regular.
Yeah, the night is higher because of the lights. I know it's been changed so many times and moved around.
And dropped and picked back up. So what I can do is I can verify that and what the fees would be. I mean, I've got to calculate it out for them anyway.
I'm about to pull up the
Oh.
fee structure for
I believe it might be separate, Mayor.
I can figure that out.
Yeah, okay. I thought it would be easy to find.
I'll just add it to the email that I'll send around later this week. Hopefully.
All right, then we got a Harvard Hornets soccer fee waiver request.
This is a fee waiver request. So they're just asking to have the fees waived, for the season, which is, March through November.
Is this gonna conflict with our soccer tournament?
They would not be able to use
Yeah,
our
they would
field
not,
on that
the city would
weekend.
take precedent that weekend. And
That
I'll make
weekend,
sure
or
that
would
they
it
know.
be for like that week? Because I mean, we gotta prepare that field ahead of time. There's gonna be a block, I would think, of days in there. They're not gonna be able to use the field. They need to be aware of it.
So I'll make sure that they are.
So the waiver of these fees, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, are we still charging these non-for-profit organizations that are putting money into the fields, a field
Yes.
usage?
You
fee?
have it on there, but then they just file for a fee waiver request, and the board has typically just waived the fees because of that.
Gotcha.
It's just so that we have documentation that we're
There's-
treating everybody the same.
So the Harvard Junior Hornets soccer, are they currently putting any money into those fields?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
They're the ones we rent the soccer goals from, correct?
Correct.
I'm assuming they do some type of work out there, they're using those fields. I would assume.
Don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Pep, I don't know.
I can find out. I'm adding it to the list.
According to our guidelines, community service groups, nonprofits would be eligible for a fee waiver, which they would fall under.
Would this have to be sent up to city council for,
It would.
It would, you would make your recommendation, and then city council will make final approval or disapproval.
would I make a recommendation to send this up to city council for,
course.
for approval?
You know the dates that they're looking at?
Well, all they say here is spring and fall
Spring and
season,
fall.
March through November. The time varies.
Do we know, I mean, do we have any idea when their games are, when they're, are they practicing? I mean,
They haven't provided schedules, so do not know.
I guess I'd be a little hesitant to say, yes, the fields are yours for that amount of time without knowing exactly how much time they're expecting to have the fields. I mean, because we already got we got the men's on Sundays, so we know they're not gonna be on Sundays,
Right?
right?
When they're ready to schedule, won't they have to submit a field usage agreement as well?
They would.
At that point, we'd get the dates, or the Parks Department.
Well,
would
then
get the
I guess
dates.
I would make a motion that we approve this subject to,
The dates.
to the dates, to make sure that,
Okay. So,
I mean,
You've got two motions.
We've got
yeah.
two motions.
So, do you want to pull your motion back? Or, okay. Now we only have one.
Would it still go to city council for approval, final approval anyway?
It will, yes. It requires city council to approve to waive the fee, but the board
let me
here
back
should-
up. I'm assuming they used the fields last year?
Yes, they tend to use them every year, yes.
Okay, and there hasn't been conflict in the past?
No.
There hasn't been, but we haven't had soccer tournaments in the past. Now, recognize that if there is a date conflict, there is possibility that they could utilize the field on the north side of the parking lot that is to the east of, where Milk Day sets up. Because there is soccer fields over there, so that it would be a fallback if there was a conflict.
Well, we know when our tournament's gonna be.
That might impact the
Yes.
So, I mean,
family
as
events.
long as they're aware that they
It's
can't
not
play
the
this on
same
the
area.
27th or the 28th.
They're aware they can't do it for that, they're aware they can't, be there on Milk Days or where they're.
That's what I'm saying, though, as long as we have our dates in place and they're informed of their dates for that tournament, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, but this last year, weren't they playing soccer too? Not tournaments, just playing soccer
Yeah,
the
so the men's
weekends.
league was playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
I do not know what days. I think Harvard Junior Hornets typically played on Saturdays.
I don't think there was a conflict with the men's because theirs was,
There was no conflict last year.
I believe they played sometimes at night as well, right?
The Harvard Junior Hornets, I don't know. I
So
think-
one of the two did, and I
think-
can't remember which
I
one.
think
but-
typically they played all day Saturday and the men's tournament was on Sunday, so there was no conflict. I don't anticipate that there'll be again this year.
Something
So I think John's motion's good, right? At least make sure the dates are aligned.
and the new superintendent can keep it all sorted all out later. Or the acting one.
Interim. So we have a motion pending the dates.
Second it.
Second. Want a discussion, John?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a discussion about it? Any more than we've already had? Nope. Call the vote.
All right, Logan,
Yes.
Luna, Lancaster,
Yes.
Saucedo,
Yes.
and Lavallee.
Yes.
All right,
Oh, you're
motion
like
carries.
Lori, you're jumping around.
Well, I'm trying to be like Lori a little bit here. So. She
I
does
just-
right.
You know, I mean, adding to this, I mean,
What's that?
I know we're past the discussion now and we've already voted on it, but it may be something we want to, in the future, as that field gets more use, it's going to be harder and harder to just give it away to somebody for the whole season, you know, or 2 seasons.
Well, that's where I think providing your schedules to the superintendent so that they can make sure we manage.
Well, and
any
actually, and I hope
conflicts.
that happens, because that means that stuff's happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, so, yep.
I mean, the idea is for it to be in use, right?
Right. Okay, discussion of reallocation of equipment. Luke.
Okay. So there was a couple of things that happened over this year so far. One, the truck was the use of the truck was suspended for a while because of some misuse that was happening and lack of attention. And so during that small process, we started to notice we had a truck that better fit Daryl's needs, who's doing bulk of the work in maintaining the parks and the fields and so on. So in looking at it and then looking further, we realized that the building department, that truck, which was an 07, I believe, only had like 1,800 miles or so on it. It was ridiculous for a vehicle that
18,000.
18,000, thank you. For a vehicle, but if you look at the shell, it was all beat up. In the 2 years since that truck was the truck for the Parks Department was purchased, that one had only 1,600 on it. Rather than have 2 vehicles that are sitting around just aging on their own and being underused, and the Parks one was purchased, but it wasn't good or not suitable for Daryl to use. What we did is or what I did was I moved things around. Pulled a truck out of that's slightly older than the 2022 Ford. Moved that one over so that Daryl could use it. And then took the 2022 and put it into the admin fleet, so to speak, so that anybody can use it throughout all the departments, including the Parks and Rec director. And then took the building truck and sent that off to surplus. This way we're getting more miles and usage out of the 2022 than what we could. We don't have 2 trucks that are just sitting around not being used. It's streamlining the expenses or the use of the vehicles, because you got a lot of money left in equipment that's just sitting around.
So which one is the one?
So the I think it's in the memo here, the 2022 Ford is the one that the Parks Department recommended the purchase of. The 2017 is the Chevy that came out of Public Works. And that Chevy is more suited to what Daryl needs versus the 2022 Ford.
Well, I think that's great, Lou, but the parks, that could come out of the parks' money, that truck. And my thinking is, we have a brand-new truck for the parks that's gonna last a long time. That cost us a lot of money out of the parks' budget.
It cost you $28,900.
So I guess my thinking is we're getting an older truck. We spent $28,000 for a brand-new truck that I was under the impression we were gonna have for a long time without rust.
Yes and no. The way it was being maintained, it was not going to last without rust.
No, I understand that, but we spent $28,000 from the parks fund to purchase a brand-new truck for the parks.
Right.
And I disagree with us moving that. I'm completely against that. I wouldn't have suggested we spent almost $30,000 for a truck if it was gonna go to what you just did.
Right now, that truck would have only been useful for the Parks and Rec director. It wouldn't have been useful for Daryl. Daryl was using a Public Works truck, which is what the city paid for, or the Public Works Department had paid for. They are freely giving that vehicle up so that Daryl can use it full-time. It's without getting all into the grains of it all, it's a better truck for what you need.
No, absolutely, and I agree with you, right? I'm not saying I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying is that we dropped almost $30,000 for a truck that I expected to be in the parks fleet. And I know we're all one city and we work together, but it came out of our budget, $28,000. So the way I'm thinking at, we now have a 2017 truck that's not worth $28,000.
I understand that.
If that would have been the case, we would have gone and bought a used truck for the parks at $20,000. Do you see what I'm saying here? So the way I look at it is we just lost money. The parks fund, our fund just lost money. It's the way I look at it.
And that's a fair argument from your perspective.
So yeah, I disagree with that. Because it costs so much money out of our fund, which we could have done a lot of other things that we bought a used
Right.
truck that would have been better suited for the parks, right? And if Ryan told us that truck wasn't gonna be suited for whatever it is we needed for in the parks, we wouldn't have gone that route, right? We weren't told that information.
And I can't correct something that happened
No,
before
no.
I got here.
Yeah, so I disagree with that move. I think it's a lot of money that came out of the parks budget that we now, just completely gave over to, the city's fleet, right? So
But keep in mind, at the same time, the $20,000 that the city paid for the 2017 truck when it was bought new was being used essentially for the Parks Department as well. So what you have is both departments are chewing through money. Okay, if we could have lined it up so that both trucks were the same year, that would have been great. But you still would have had a truck that you really can't use.
yeah, no, I get what you did, and I get why you did it, and I understand all that, but once again, in my eyes, it's buying something brand new, and then all of a sudden you take it away from you, right?
Right.
Especially when the parks funds are limited as they are. I wouldn't have voted to have bought a brand new truck if I knew we were gonna lose it the next year. Wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I also think, and once again, Lou, I get your reasoning, I really do. And I get the, you're, though changing, I guess, fundamentally the way the city, does their assets, basically, right? You're almost making a pool of the trucks. Instead of departmentalizing them, you're kind of pooling them, which, once again, that's, might be a good way to do it too. I don't know.
Technically, we already have a pool.
Yeah.
Because anytime we rotate out a squad car, we either send it to auction if it's, one of the ones that's in worse condition, or Jim Grant gets a new admin car, or one of the wastewater guys gets something to drive around and check the wells and the pumps with, and gets a code enforcement car, maybe somebody over in Public Works gets a car, and nobody reimburses the police department for those. They just get rotated out into the fleet, because it's more practical for those other departments that don't drive as much as the police do to use up the end value of those vehicles instead of us buying new vehicles for all these departments that really don't need new vehicles when what the used vehicles we can rotate out are sufficient enough. So technically, we do have a pool, if you want to
Well,
look at
I
it
think,
that
well,
way.
the other thing I think is where Pep's going is that, long after we're gone, 15 years from now or so, right? Park's gonna need a new truck, and, maybe, maybe it could have lasted 20, but it's only gonna go 15 because instead of having a 22, we have a 17. So, and then at that point, is Parks gonna have to buy their own truck again, or are they gonna get help from Public Works because they're using Public Works' truck?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the first question is, did Parks need to buy this truck in the first place?
We understand that, but we took
So
the recommendation.
let's assume that the Parks needs a truck. The truck that was provided was purchased because at the time we were instructed that was the only truck available. And there was a bit of a hurry up that was pushed onto this body to approve it, because if you don't buy now, it's not going to be there. And, it's a little bit more than what we need, but it's the only truck available. Like, there's no reason we needed to buy a four-wheel drive truck for this department. That was just not required. What was required was a tow hitch, or be able to tow a trailer. And we purchased the trailer to be able to move picnic tables. My understanding is, in the time that we've owned the truck and we've utilized it for the purpose that was highly justified that we needed it, we only actually did that a couple of times. And so I am really struggling as the mayor to say, we should have bought this truck when we could have utilized and created more what I think the current administrator is trying to do, and create a bit of a pool where the truck is available for the Parks Department to utilize when they need it, as well as other departments.
Sure. And
So I will just say that Parks does need a truck, certainly from a maintenance perspective, and Parks has been provided a truck from a maintenance perspective. And in fact, when this whole issue came up, and we spoke to Daryl opted to take the other truck. He didn't want the four-wheel drive truck because it was too difficult, because of its height, to be able to utilize it for what he needs it to be utilized in taking care of the parks. So when left with that decision, for the person that's going to be utilizing the equipment, and they're purposely asking, hey, can I have that truck instead of this one because it's better suited for what I need to do? I think that's understanding that background will help you understand why the decision was made. I get that the Parks Board is saying, well, wait a minute, we spent X amount of dollars out of our capital improvement in order to purchase this vehicle, and now it's being taken away. Well, the flip side of that is, overall, the need that the vehicle was there for is being provided by a different vehicle. Now, is there a difference in cost and value between the two vehicles? Yeah, sure there is, because one's newer than the other. One has more equipment than the other one does. But when we boil it down to the primary purpose of the vehicle for the specific department, the department is made whole. It has a vehicle to accomplish the things that they need to accomplish. And if they needed the other vehicle, it's available to them to utilize.
So, and this is where I wish I was using my dry erase board on this. Keep in mind too that Daryl's truck was a 2007 Ford that he was using for the Parks Department. That one should have been replaced. If looking back, should have been replaced before the Parks and Rec Director's truck was replaced, and then you would have gotten a vehicle, and that one would have stayed. Honestly, would have stayed with Daryl, because that's the person doing the heaviest lifting. And in all this, I think part of that's being forgotten, or should be considered as well, is that the 07 truck was sold off. That's the one where money went back into the Parks money market account. It's the Public Works that gave the truck up, spent the $20,000, and got nothing back in return.
How much, that's already sold in the 2007?
The 07's already gone.
What'd that go back, how much money did go back to the?
Is that,
I think they only approved it to surplus it, so it's not been.
So it
Hasn't
hasn't,
been
it hasn't
sold
been
yet.
sold
We're
yet.
expecting, around 3 for that, Pep. That was,
that was what Ryan was driving?
it's valued less than that, but he
What was Ryan
thinks he can
driving?
get around 3 at auction.
Yeah, I don't
To
know.
be clear, no. The 2007 Dakota was being driven by community development.
Yes.
Not by parks.
But the 07 Ford was the one that was being driven by Daryl. So if anything, one other way to look at it is that the 07 got replaced with a 2017, which actually gave you more years out of that vehicle as well before another vehicle needs to be purchased. So, I mean, in the end, we're trying to be one happy family and allocate resources appropriately. How it was sold to the board in 2021, 2022, I wasn't here.
Yeah, and you're right, and I agree with you, Lou, and the mayor, and knowing what we know now, right, we probably wouldn't have done that, or we done things differently, so, yep.
Yeah, and I'm a,
We were
right.
strapped.
Well, and you base the decisions on the information provided. You know, and I hate to sound, because I have the ability to look backwards on this. If I was here, the suggestion would have been to get a 2022 truck that is suitable for Darrell. And then I still would have taken the 07 from Darrell and the 07 from Dakota, sold that one off, both off as surplus, and then combine the funds towards another vehicle that still could be rotated between several departments.
And Lou, you doing these kind of moves, that's all within your
My
scope of
authority, yes.
work, and we don't have no say in that, the Parks Board?
It's not that you have no say, because if it was no say, I wouldn't even be bringing it up.
And we might make a profit of 10,000 with the Ford, the 2022, that's gonna go back into the parks.
So,
And that's an option, you know, and I'm not fully convinced that we need a 2022 Ford in our parking lot out there, you know, between admin, parks, and community development. I don't know that we need a pickup truck, and I learned from Rob that right now, the way things are in the market, that we could potentially get that much for that truck.
Go back
I mean,
into
and that's an
It's un-
option.
It's unclear from this memo, but the 2022 Ford that we're talking about, that's the 250?
That's the parks, the
The
one that was.
F-250?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would kind of question why we would have an F-250, period.
Right.
That's a plow truck.
That's what the parks bought.
So you're
Right.
saying we could
Because that's all there
get rid
was.
of the
so,
truck?
well, because
They
right
cannot.
now, the used market
No,
for
it's not
pickup
heavy
trucks
enough.
is high.
I asked
So we
that.
could potentially sell it for, either at what we bought it for or potentially higher.
Is that something we're considering, and we don't need it to get that money back?
It's what, I put 3 considerations on the back, just, you know, because I knew this was an issue and that it was going to be questioned as to how the money market, Parks money market would be paid back. And of course, the first one is to leave as is under the argument that we are one fleet, a pooled fleet. The second one would be, once I learned from Rob that, hey, you know, this truck that we got was actually valued at about 10 grand higher than what we paid for, but we got the government rate. So as of right now, if we wanted to turn on and sell it, we could possibly get 10,000 for it.
More than we
more.
paid for it.
Right, right. So,
We're thinking about $38,000.
yes, possibly.
The only thing that we're holding out on is to see when we get our new Parks and Rec director and re-examine the fleet at that point.
But again, why would he need a 250?
That is true.
Again,
250 is
I
a-
question why we bought this truck in the first
A
place.
250 is a
Other
plow
than
truck.
there was no other trucks available.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that if, considering the way that the mayor and Lou are going to be, the direction they want the new Rex director to take, that should a truck be needed, one could be borrowed from Public Works.
Or even, like what's happening with Rob is taking a SUV out of the police, that the police are going to be removing from service, taking that SUV, and then truthfully, that's probably more what the Parks and Rec director could use. Because it still has some storage in there, as well, if he or she needed to haul something around. But if they need something heavy enough, they could go to the fleet, the Public Works fleet.
So who's gonna decide the best route to go with this 2022? Is that us? Is that you, city council? We decide to sell that?
It typically comes from administration, but if that's your general feel here, to sell it, then
I've make a motion and recommendation to
Right.
council to consider it.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is that, you know, if we can sell that truck and get that money back into the parks, right? And we get an additional $10,000, that's a lot of money for the parks for this
yes, it
year.
is.
If I'm correctly, you're saying that we really don't need this truck.
You don't. You don't. It's not what you need. It's got half of what could be used. The other half you don't. It's,
Well, if we did that, though, we'd have to buy the 2017.
no,
from
and that's,
Public Works,
remember,
wouldn't we?
that's already been allocated, so there's no
Have it.
purchase on your part.
You don't need to buy anything.
Well, that makes me
Because
feel
it's part of
bad
the
for
fleet.
asking for the
Right.
other one.
Which makes
Right.
sense, you know.
You see
That's
where
how
you
we
benefit too by pooling some of our resources? And keep in mind, one of the other things that we did, and it all ties together, is that we changed the parameters of how we're doing the police fleet. Instead of selling it off, because it's in, by year, we're selling it by actual miles and usage, or getting rid of it that way. So we're expanding or extending the life of their fleet. We're just trying to make better financial decisions with the equipment and the little funds that we have.
Well, I guess from my point, I think even if we got that $28,000 back, that gives us quite a bit of extra money that we don't have this year that we can do something with, for example, playgrounds or whatever.
Good.
Well, we go into the money market account.
Yep.
I think it's pointless that we had bought something that we did not need and just have it there doing nothing when we could be actually making a bit more money from
Right.
having it
Can
be
we-
used
can
by
we, though-
somebody else.
I know part of the reason we bought the truck was to tow a trailer. Can we tow the trailer with
17.
the 17
Or another truck in Public Works.
or any other?
Or any other. And think about it, in the past, whenever you've needed something, whatever the equipment is, if Public Works or Public Utilities, well, they don't have much, but it's always been borrowed. So
We also have the,
truthfully, if you wanted to make a recommendation, you can make a recommendation to sell off the 2022 vehicle.
I would make a recommendation, explore the possibility.
Okay.
To
We can look at
uh,
it. And that's actually, you can make a
price it out.
directive. You can make a directive, you don't need to vote on something like that. To have staff look at it,
Yes.
at the benefits of potentially selling it off.
come back next month.
I think next month we'll have some figures on that, Lou.
I think we can get
Rob will
something
be able to
together.
get something
Worst
together.
case scenario, it'll be the following one, but we'll do our best to get it to you at the next
Perfect.
board.
Is
Rob
the
and John are
directive
pretty good at
seconded,
that.
or-
No.
Or just
No.
basically say,
When,
It's more or less the chairman saying, hey, go do this.
sweet, sounds good.
when a new park superintendent is hired, is there a vehicle for his use?
yes.
Now there is, because we have a admin, I say admin, it's a department vehicle that they could use. We have,
So he will not have a vehicle assigned to him?
he or she,
or she-
right now, no. And
We're
that's
not quite
probably a
sure
bit better.
the need for that.
What's that?
We're not quite sure the need for a vehicle, depending on the direction that position takes. I
Right.
mean,
And considering.
going to
okay,
the pool a couple times, maybe having to go to some meetings, if push came to shove, that's all reimbursable through travel expenses.
If it only
right?
puts 1,600 miles in 2 years, I've been here 13, 14 years, it feels like. I can tell you that vehicle right now has more of a chance, or the way things were, would have more of a chance of the tires being flatted
Yeah.
at the bottom than actually wearing out.
But yes, Scott, to
So-
answer your question, there's a vehicle available. In fact, our admin car doesn't get much use either.
No.
It's an old squad car.
And that's the one that I hold on to the keys just so that it's checked in and out, and make sure that the vehicle is locked with no keys inside, kind of thing.
My expectation is that when another SUV comes out from the police, that it would be rotated to this department head, which would provide the ability to carry things they might need to carry that is more difficult in a sedan, but isn't the cost of a pickup truck.
Do we take care of all this maintenance in-house of all
Yes.
these vehicles?
Yes. Public Works accomplishes all maintenance of vehicles.
So this can turn out to be a good thing, Lou, for the Parks Board.
It could, and it could be a
Depends
good
out,
thing
though.
long-term, because again, you're not tying up huge amounts of money in something you can't use.
And to be clear, a lot of municipalities will purchase these vehicles, especially pickup trucks in this current environment, at the discount government rate, hold on to them for 2 years, and then sell them. We're required to hold on to them for 2 years because we get it at the government rate, but you are now past that 2-year point that you could
I
sell
think
it.
we're actually right, we're within a couple of months of it, if anything.
So you could sell it, and because of the market for used four-wheel drive pickup trucks, there is a very good chance you could actually turn a profit.
So which goes back to an overall theme that you're hearing tonight is a better allocation of your funds.
No, that's good. Everything sounds
Buy
good.
another one.
Just keep flipping them. Yeah, because we're just putting money back into our account.
And some do that.
And we're saving on insurance.
You're saving on insurance. Yeah. So we'll look at it and I'll come back with, hopefully some numbers at the next, board meeting.
Thank you, Lou.
Yes, thank you.
Let's
That's
move on.
good.
Yeah, sorry, I get
Um,
talking.
We have any vandalism?
So we had 3 acts of vandalism, one at Northfield, one at Lyons, and one at Milky Way Park. The PD is investigating them, and one of the issues we had at Milky Way Park is getting access to the cameras. We have since rectified that. They're looking into it. The one at Lyons Park was actually just a Sharpie incident on the inside of one of the slides. In all 3 cases, Public Works has been out there rapidly to make sure it's been removed. They actually purchased some better chemical spray or something like that to remove it easier. So rapid response.
Great. Mayor's report?
My only report is, obviously, since our superintendent resigned, Lou has been kind of taking over, as well as other staff within City Hall have been helping carry some of that load. We are very close to starting the interview process for the applicants that have applied for the position. I'll let Lou talk about that during the Parks Department report. But, our focus is to bring somebody in as soon as possible and getting them up to speed. In the interim, we've got Daryl, who has previously operated and opened the pool, is set to take on those duties. And we're expecting that for the pool season, we've always had a pool manager with lifeguards. We want to empower that pool manager to be more than just a head lifeguard, to actually be a pool manager and take on some of those duties. So.
And we made some alterations to the budget to be able to accommodate that.
Is that person for sure coming back?
My understanding is yes, but I haven't personally spoken to him, but I think the expectation is
The
yes.
interim Parks and Rec director is getting ready to start checking who's coming back and how many we need to acquire.
Fantastic. All right. Glad to know you're on it.
That's all I have to report, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's go on to the Parks Department.
So one of the things to bring up was, you've had a chance to look at it, and we don't have to rehash every last item, I hope. But I did want to bring up about the pool house. We did have a frozen pipe situation. It caused $2,600 worth of damages. This goes back to why we need to do inspections and assessments on a weekly basis, particularly when it's the temperature drops, because last I checked, water pipes do not seem to react well to minus 13 degrees. In there, that also opened up another issue. Anybody who's done renovations, the saying is don't go in the wall if you don't have to, you end up finding things. What we ended up finding is that the pool had $1,600 worth of food supplies that we had to throw out, some as old as 2 years, expired. Yeah. So, in fact, this is an example one that's here because we cannot sell it, so it's lost. So we repurposed that took it and redistributed it through the departments. I know there was at least 5 cases of Mountain Dew that was left in the kitchen over there that suddenly disappeared overnight. I think that might have been a police department that could use it. But no, so we've been, this goes back and as we look to see, well, how did this happen? Apparently there was quite a few, food items that were purchased with like 2 to 3 weeks left of the pool season. We also noticed that, the prices up there were a little extreme for a community, pool, like the little chip bags, which we have, 20 boxes or so worth of examples. Little chip bags that we could sell for maybe a buck and a half. We were selling them for $3. So one of the things that we're going to do this year is to not try to gouge our customers and try to price it appropriately. So little things like that. And the other note here is that to clean the pool house up, it took 4 staff members, including myself, a grand total of 16 labor hours, so about 4 hours each of us, to get it cleaned up, just so it could at least get just below par. And during that process, we also found in our chemical room, one of the people that was helping us, or 2 of the people that was helping us, it was our buildings department, and if I can quote them correctly, they would have flagged the pool house at least 10 different ways. Which goes back to, if you're not provided the correct information, you're not able to make the right decisions. So this goes back with the new Parks and Rec director, that the emphasis is not just telling you what's going on, but being able to show you what's going on. Yeah. I'm a big believer in that. So that's one of the things that we're going to drive with the next Parks and Rec director. Let's see if there was anything else. I did want to mention that after talking with NISRA, I already mentioned that they are very willing to help us out with programs. The other thing that that they're wanting to do is they actually are going to send some representatives out at our next Parks and Rec board meeting, to actually, so that you all have a chance to actually meet them and talk with them. They've been itching to come out, and so I gave them the unofficial invite. Once we have a date, which I believe will be the 18th, I'll send out a calendar invite to them to bring them out. We're trying to go in a new and better direction.
I would like to add to that report about NISRA just some commentary in that we have levied a tax for NISRA since I've been mayor, and I think well before that. And we levy $40-some thousand a year in property tax, and from that we pay our dues, our fee to be a participant in NISRA. What that does, nobody understands what that does for us, so I want to make sure the board understands. As a member of NISRA, and of course NISRA is focused for special needs, and providing recreational and educational activities for those with special needs. So our community and those who have special needs can participate in any NISRA event, which we do have their publication at City Hall, because we are part of the NISRA group. I don't know how many municipalities are, but there's a number of them that all participate. Additionally, because of our dues, we actually have the opportunity for them to engage us here. And we have done some of that in the past, but very, very far and few between. We did a swim program once for special needs, where they got to come into the pool early. You might remember that, Pep. And they loved that opportunity where NISRA got to work with us. In the past, NISRA has had activities at the bowling alley that partnered with Jay's Lanes. And so we're hoping when we have a new superintendent to come in, that we find more ways to partner with NISRA and bring some of that programming and activities to our community, not just go away, because most of NISRA activities are much farther east in the county, and so we want to try and better partner with that program so that we bring some of those activities here. And then the one part that was mentioned that Deb wants to make sure we know how much it is, and we'll know that when we have our audit. But of the money that we do levy for that, a portion went to pay for the dues, and the rest went into the NISRA account. And that money can be utilized for programming as well as equipment that are relative to ADA compliance or for special needs. And when it comes to programming, it doesn't have to be specifically for special needs, it just has to include special needs. So there's opportunity for us to partner with them to provide some programming that we don't have here, that we have funding to pay for. We just need to verify through our accounting purposes how much funding there actually is. So we will be, once we know that number, we will be coming back to the board and saying, hey, you have this additional funding that is earmarked for these type of programs, and then we can figure out ways to utilize that money and bring more of that programming and equipment to our communities.
So to tie off that, to follow up on that, it goes back to a direction of trying to better use our resources, better use the groups that are out there, like NISRA, like MCC, and try to get instructors. We had actually one session where I asked all of the department heads to come back with ideas for parks programs. The taxpayers have voted years ago to allocate these funds to go for parks and rec. And if you notice tonight, I keep saying parks and rec is somewhere along the lines. I just want to make sure that we are building rec programs as well. And I do foresee where Daryl, or if Daryl ever retires, whoever takes over his spot, focusing more on the maintenance side of parks, and the Parks and Rec director focusing more on rec programs. And so then we could, again, better allocate our resources. And I just want to note for the record that if I started to talk, or when I started to talk about the NISRA funds, I got shut down, so it's good to be the mayor.
All right, so are we not going to talk about the memo?
That was just an FYI to go along with the truck, just so that there was a history of how the money market came to fruition and how it's been funded from various funds throughout the years, not just through the park fund.
Okay, that's good. All right, let's move on to new business.
I don't really have a whole lot other than we're exploring more and more options. I did set out for those that were at the budget meeting, at least 6 directions or procedures that were focus points, goals for myself while I'm serving as the interim, but more for the next Park and Rec director. And a lot of it is making sure we're doing programs, trying to make sure that they're cost efficient, and try to allocate our resources better and to utilize what's available, such as, I mentioned earlier as a note, we're seeing a lot more of the departments wanting to participate to make the Parks and Rec program highly successful. And that's a huge change from years past. It goes back to an overall theme that since I've been here of tearing down silos and making sure we are functioning like a fun-loving family. There's going to be some bumps and bruises as we grow and go in this direction, and the truck was one of them more recently, but you kind of see the direction we're trying to go, and it's something I've been hammering. Pep, you and I talked about it after my first Parks and Rec meeting. We're getting there. We're getting there, and I think we're off to a good start already.
Okay. Any other new business? Nope. All right, next meeting will be March 18th. I'll call for motions to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
I was going to say
No one's going to second, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.